A woman who is drifting away emotionally often reveals far more through her unconscious words than through anything she openly admits. And one of the most telling sentences that an unfaithful woman says without even realizing its deeper meaning is, "I just need some space." Because beneath its innocent surface lies a quiet shift in emotional gravity that most men overlook. This sentence doesn't emerge at random. It appears when her attention is slowly rerouting itself towards someone or something outside the relationship, when the emotional warmth that once felt effortless begins to cool, when her replies grow shorter, her tone becomes guarded, and her daily communication slowly fades into a distant echo of what it used to be. And while it may sound like a simple request for breathing room, it is often a subconscious attempt to create emotional distance, to ease the guilt, confusion, or internal conflict that accompanies a heart being tugged in two directions. Because before infidelity ever becomes physical, it almost always begins psychologically. In small moments of emotional withdrawal, in the subtle reshaping of priorities, in the way she suddenly guards her phone more tightly, becomes unusually private, grows irritated by things that never bothered her before, or stops sharing the little details of her day that once made you feel intimately connected to her inner world. And when she says she needs space, what she often truly seeks is room to reconcile her emotions, room to avoid facing what she can't yet admit out loud, room to indulge in the growing attachment she feels elsewhere without confronting the emotional responsibility she still has toward you. And though this sentence doesn't prove cheating on its own, it is one of the earliest warning signs that her emotional investment is shifting. Because a deeply connected partner rarely seeks distance. They seek comfort, clarity, and closeness even in stress, even in overwhelm, even in chaos, whereas a partner whose heart is already drifting begins to find your presence heavy rather than healing, pressure rather than peace, and when that happens, she reaches for the safest phrase available, one that shields her from confrontation while giving her enough emotional freedom to wander. "I just need some space." A sentence that slips out like a sigh, gentle enough to sound harmless yet loaded with the weight of a truth she isn't ready to face. And while most men react by chasing, questioning, or trying to fix things, the truth is that the moment you hear this line in its cold, unexplained form, the most powerful response is calm observation rather than panic, emotional grounding rather than desperation, because your strength in that moment reveals far more than anything you could argue or beg for. And if her heart is gone, chasing won't bring it back. But if the relationship still has life, your composure becomes the mirror that shows her what she's truly risking. Because people don't always cheat out of malice. Sometimes they drift because they're confused, lonely, tempted, or emotionally overwhelmed. But the first clue, the earliest crack in the emotional foundation, the line she speaks without even knowing it exposes the truth, is that soft, subtle, deceptively simple phrase, "I just need some space." And the truth that most men never recognize is that when a woman reaches the point of saying, "I need space," it's rarely about space at all, because the human heart doesn't suddenly crave distance from someone it still feels deeply connected to. Instead, this phrase emerges when she has already created an emotional world that no longer includes you at the center, when she has found comfort, validation, excitement, or emotional stimulation somewhere else, and her mind subconsciously begins rewriting the relationship without you even realizing it, because emotional detachment is never loud, never dramatic, never obvious in the beginning. It's quiet, it's soft, it's polite, and it disguises itself as independence or stress or personal growth. But underneath the surface lies a shift in emotional allegiance, a subtle pulling away that starts with delayed replies, colder tones, forced affection, and a new level of secrecy she explains away as just being private or needing time alone. Yet her actions speak louder than anything she says as she becomes more defensive, more distant, more easily irritated by your presence. Not because you've changed, but because the emotional attention she once gave you so freely is now being rationed, redirected, or quietly replaced. And when she finally speaks the sentence, "I need space," it's often because she's trying to justify feelings she doesn't want to confess, trying to manage guilt she doesn't want to confront, or trying to create emotional distance because someone else has already stepped into the space she's asking you to give her. And the tragedy is that men, out of love or patience or confusion, often accept these words at face value, not realizing that they're being slowly cut out of a story they didn't know was ending. Because when someone is genuinely overwhelmed, they seek clarity, comfort, explanation, reassurance. They don't shut down emotionally, they don't become mysteriously unavailable, and they don't rewrite the rhythm of the relationship overnight. But an emotionally unfaithful heart needs distance to rewrite its narrative. It needs separation to justify the shift in loyalty. And it uses phrases like space, alone time, or "I need to figure myself out," to hide the reality that the figuring out process has already begun with someone else. And while she may not consciously intend to deceive, her subconscious has already begun protecting the emotional bond she's forming elsewhere, shielding it from the guilt of betraying you, shielding herself from the discomfort of admitting that she's slipping away, and shielding the new emotional attachment from being exposed too soon, so the sentence becomes her escape route, her emotional boundary, her quiet way of preparing for detachment without having to confront the pain of truth, leaving you confused, reaching, trying to reconnect with someone who has already walked halfway out the door internally. Because the moment she says she needs space without clarity, without explanation, without reassurance, it's not just a request. It's a revelation, a glimpse into the shifting landscape of her emotions. And though it may sound gentle, soft, or harmless, it is often the beginning of the end that she doesn't yet have the courage to say out loud.